Stop treating excellence like a surprise. If Brock Purdy belongs among the NFL's elite, dominating a joint practice is the job, not a miracle. And San Francisco has to hold this entire roster to that standard, because talent without consistency will not survive January. Faithful, lock in. Today we're grading this offense like a championship contender, confronting a rookie already crashing the starting lineup, testing Fred Warner's explosive confidence in the secondary, and separating smart medical caution from cheap panic with 2 stars sidelined. Want the unfiltered read from Santa Clara? Subscribe to 49 ERS Express right now. Brock Purdy just delivered the kind of practice that should kill an old conversation. According to reports from the Titans beat, he threw only 4 incompletions. The proper reaction is not amazement, it is expectation. If you put Purdy among the best quarterbacks in the league, you cannot act like every sharp performance is some stunning discovery. He should command the operation, anticipate windows, and make his receivers look even more dangerous. That is exactly what showed up against Tennessee. Demarcus Robinson became one of the faces of that dominance, especially in the intermediate game in the red zone. Purdy explained that Robinson knows when to cut a route short, lean into a defender a little longer before breaking, and adjust the timing without wrecking the play. He also pointed to Robinson's length, his ability to climb for the football, and his experience. Robinson earned more opportunities this offseason and answered by showing up every day. Next to Mike Evans and Dejon Stribling, defenses may have to view him differently because they will not be free to load every answer toward one threat. Stribling, by the way, led the team with 7 catches during team drills. The ease with which he secures the ball and keeps moving jumps off the field. The visual contrast with Deebo Samuel is impossible to miss. Stribling seems to absorb the pass without wrestling it, preserving his speed after the catch. But one clean practice does not get to hide the pressure point. The Titans generated very little heat, and left guard remains an open question. Robert Jones holds the job right now, with Carver Willis and Connor Colby also in the fight. The other 4 starters can give this line an above-average foundation, but one interior leak can poison the protection, the timing, and the running game. Seeing Purdy comfortable is great. Keeping him comfortable when real fronts start attacking that uncertainty is the urgent responsibility. That puts Jake Tongas directly into this conversation. If the line cannot hold up in spread formations or the wide receivers cannot separate consistently, heavier personnel can become an answer, not a retreat. Tongas reportedly caught multiple balls downfield, and Kyle Shanahan said the tight end room has worked well throughout camp. The more provocative detail came next. Shanahan said Tongas can do everything Kyle Juszczyk does. Even if George Kittle misses time early, 2 tight end sets can protect the structure without making the offense predictable. The TE2 appears to be on this roster. Shanahan still has to treat him like a real weapon. That is the standard I want. Purdy elevating everybody around him, Robinson turning experience into leverage, Stribling bringing fluidity, and Tongas expanding the menu. Celebrate the practice. Absolutely. Lowering the demands afterward would be ridiculous. A team chasing a Super Bowl has to turn this level of August control into routine once every snap starts charging a real price. As the offense pushes the standard higher, the defense is revealing who can take ground without asking permission. Jaden Duggar receives snaps with the starters in 5-man fronts. For a rookie, that carries more weight than any broad compliment. The staff is already testing his frame and speed inside a package that could show up on real Sundays. For Nick Martin, the message is uncomfortable. This competition just became a lot more serious. Duggar has the build you want from a linebacker aligned on the line of scrimmage. He can absorb contact, threaten the edge, and when the offense uses motion or flexes a tight end into the slot, follow that movement without forcing the defense to reveal its response. The quarterback sees a heavy front, tries to create a matchup, and discovers the defense does not have to change the piece. Fred Warner called Duggar's skill set rare and said he can run like a deer. When the best linebacker in football identifies that kind of toolkit, I pay attention. It does not mean the rookie will be ready for every read. Mistakes are coming, especially with angles, gap discipline, and decisions made at full speed. The real calculation is different. Can he create enough splash plays to outweigh the misses while building consistency? If the answer is yes, moving the base defense could become brutally difficult. A defender who can live between the edge and the second level gives the coordinator freedom. Duggar can show pressure and drop, close the strong side, follow a tight end, or help create a 5-man front without an obvious substitution. That forces the offense to solve the puzzle after its communication has already started. His value is not limited to whom he blocks or tackles. It also lives in what his presence can hide. Larry Worth is pushing on the door too. The likeliest path may begin on the practice squad, but special teams changes the math on those final roster spots. If Worth proves he can cover ground, protect lanes, and bring reliability to the least glamorous snaps, a veteran could lose position. Camp does not reward resumes, it rewards usefulness. Do not hand anybody a job in August. Hand them pressure. Duggar has the most meaningful opportunity. Worth is fighting to survive, and Martin has to answer. The 49ers need useful fits who can grow without making the entire unit pay. The secondary did not wait for the front to decide this practice. Upton Stout, Jair Brown, and Jacob Robinson grabbed interceptions. Runardo Green added 2 pass breakups, and one Titans reporter described a coverage rep bluntly. Elik Ayamaner was completely erased, with no real chance to make the catch. That is the aggression that matters. Challenge, finish, take the football. One asterisk belongs on the page. Stout's interception came on an overthrow with Carnell Tate standing open. The quarterback's mistake created the opportunity. Stout still finished the play. For years, San Francisco has produced almost perfect defensive snaps, only to let the reward slip through its hands. A gifted turnover still has to be caught. This one was. I am also not turning Tennessee's receiving corps into proof against an elite group like Cincinnati or Dallas. This opponent does not carry the same weight. Using that to dismiss the performance would still be lazy. Green had to maintain position. Brown and Robinson had to track the football. The entire unit had to hold its assignments through the end of each rep. Strong defenses do not choose when to execute. They punish the mistake that appears. Now consider the size of Fred Warner's statement. He said he has never entered a season feeling this confident about a secondary, and that includes every year before 2026. The praise did not come from a question demanding a sales pitch. Warner offered it on his own. August is not a guarantee, but it is impossible to ignore what the leader of this defense sees every day: communication, speed, competition, and the ability to finish. Give me your Santa Clara read in the comments, with no prepackaged answer. Which trait can change this defense most? Coverage, communication, or turnovers? Explain it in one sentence. I am choosing turnovers. If this unit stops merely winning routes and starts ending possessions, the pass rush gains freedom. Warner can attack with even more violence, and close games will no longer depend on one final act of survival. The promise is showing up. This secondary has to make it repeatable. All that confidence eventually runs into the question no contender can escape. Who will be available when the season actually starts? Nick Bosa missed his 5th consecutive practice, and Christian McCaffrey sat out for the 2nd straight day. Seeing the 2 biggest pillars on this roster sidelined during a joint practice creates immediate anxiety. The mistake would be turning that anxiety into a verdict before hearing the medical explanation. Bosa is dealing with soreness and some tendinitis while returning from an ACL injury. Kyle Shanahan described it as a normal part of the process and said he sees no concern beyond that. The key word is not comfort, it is management. A reconstructed knee can respond to increased workload, and stacking August reps to satisfy the crowd would be a stupid trade if it steals explosiveness from September. The logic with McCaffrey is even more direct. Shanahan explained that his concern would be the running back trying to push through tightness, as so many players do, then pulling something that could cost him a month. Christian needs to prepare for week 1, but the staff trusts the work he banked before camp and across the first 2 weeks. That allows them to cut the workload now without pretending preparation no longer matters. But faithful, this is the part nobody should ignore. Caution only works when the roster is built to absorb it. Bosa and McCaffrey are not ordinary pieces. They change protections, tempo, game plans, and the fear level across the field. Protecting them is smart. Building as though both will simply be present for every snap would be irresponsible. The defensive line has to prove it can create chaos without relying exclusively on Bosa. The offense has to keep finding answers through Purdy, the receivers, and formations that redistribute the weight McCaffrey normally carries. The 49ers expect both players ready for Week 1 when they travel to Melbourne to face the Rams. A long flight, a division rival, and an opener on the other side of the world do not pair well with training camp heroics. They demand cold planning now and competitive violence later. So I am not buying the panic, and I am not accepting indifference either. The backups have to use these reps to prove the plan does not collapse whenever a star steps out. The 49ers can be cautious without becoming passive. That is the properly aggressive approach. Protect the decisive weapons and demand growth from the rest of the roster before the calendar stops accepting excuses. Today's message does not demand blind excitement. It demands a higher standard. Purdy should dominate. Duggar has to turn rare tools into a real role. The secondary must finish, and the staff has to protect Bosa and McCaffrey without weakening the rest of the plan. That is how a true contender operates. Demand excellence from the players on the field and intelligence from the people controlling the workload. Faithful, let me know where you stand. Do you agree that the biggest threat to the 49ers is not a lack of talent, but any drop in expectations? Challenge that idea or back it in the comments. Subscribe to 49ers Express and come back for the next battle out of Santa Clara.